I'm Panini Pete, a professional chef with small-town roots and a passion for one-of-a-kind places. I'm day tripping down the back roads and main streets of America to prove that small towns are extraordinary destinations, each one rich in history and full of happiness, where people care about people and treat you like one of their own. They celebrate life, tradition, and one-of-a-kind food culture. So join me as we gather all the local ingredients to serve up a big helping of small-town flavor. In December of 1933, reeling from the economic devastation of the Great Depression, combined with the pressure to weaken the rising prohibition-fueled power of organized crime, Congress passed the 21st Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which repealed prohibition. The manufacture and sale of liquor was once again legal, and the Bardstown bourbon industry was back in business. On September 8, 1934, the Tom Moore Distilling Company, which originally opened in 1792, ran its first whiskey into barrels. 10 years later, it would be purchased by Oscar Getz and his brother-in-law to become the Bardstown Distillery. On March 25, 1935, Jim Beam Distilleries, which originally started in 1795 by Jacob Beam, completed its first run of whiskey, having required only 120 days to rebuild its facility once Prohibition ended. By December 1935, Old Heaven Hill Distillery rolled out its first full barrel for aging, a year to the day after it had opened. And on March 17, 1936, the Willett Distilling Company put its first barrel out to age. Today, the Willett Distillery is experiencing a renaissance of its own.
7 hills and catacombs, Ozymandias syndrome. I'm a man of this world, a man of this world.
Hey Drew.
Hey, welcome to the distillery.
I'm glad to be here. I can't wait to hear all about what you're doing here.
Good.
Can you tell me a little bit about the family's history and apparently not just the bourbon, but in the distilling industry?
Our family's been making bourbon since just after the Civil War here in Kentucky. And prior to that, they were making brandy in France, dating back all the way to the 1600s.
It's incredible.
And when they came over here in the early colonial days, they were trading rum in the eastern portion of Maryland as well.
So tell us the current history of the distillery, where we're standing now.
Well, this was built on my great-grandfather's farm right after the repeal of Prohibition, but we owned several other distilleries prior to that.
So back, you started rolling out bourbon here again in 1936?
That's correct.
St. Patty's Day?
St. Patrick's Day.
How appropriate.
We did have a little bit of Irish blood too, but no, they started producing here. They made around 30 barrels. Their first production was in March of 1937. We've been doing this for quite some time, and you know, we went through a period of time where the distillery was closed and sold, and my father was able to repurchase it and open a little bottling operation. So we've seen, you know, quite a few changes over the years of being in the business, from, you know, being a pretty well-recognized distillery to almost losing everything. We are a small family-owned company, and we like being a small family-owned company, and we don't want to change that. We're also trying to create an experience here where people can come and visit us and feel like they've literally stepped back hundreds of years. Nothing is being torn down, everything's being restored. We're building bed and breakfast here where people can come and stay with us.
There's lightning, then follows thunder just before daylight.
I'd love for you to show us around and talk specifics about how this whole process comes together to produce this fine bourbon you do here.
Sure, let's go take a look.
Around?
Yes.
Check out the facility. Come on. All right, so tell me where we have here.
This is where it begins. These are our storage bins for the grains.
Full of corn in here.
Yeah, we've got corn. It's raised here right in Nelson County, Kentucky by Caldwell Farms. And we store rye and barley as well. We use 72% corn in our mash bill, and then 13% rye and 15% barley. After the grain's been received, we store it in the bins where we just were after it's been inspected. And we turn it into a coarse flour. That way we can weigh it according to our recipe.
So this is the command center right here.
That's it right there.
Can you give me some more power here, Scotty? Can we fire this up?
Go for it. Just start from right to left.
All right, this is my first step in making bourbon. Ready? There's one. Is that good? Just like that?
Keep going.
I can just hear him now. It's great to let batch Panini Pete made, and we want another medal. So the next step happens here.
That's correct. This is a mash tub, also just a large cooking vessel. We'll add about 1,700 gallons of water in this tank here from our spring-fed pond behind the distillery. And this is where we cook the grains to extract the starches and convert them into sugars as well.
So cooking, that's right up my alley. I got to look at what's inside of this baby here.
Well, there's a couple of sets of coils that we use for cooling in between the drops of the grain, and a big agitator, which is essentially a big spoon.
It looks like the inside of a submarine or something here. Next step, right here.
That's right. So after the mash is cooked, we go into one of our fermenters here. These are 10,000 gallons each. We mash 100 bushels per cook. We'll do 2 cooks a day. We'll set that in here, and we'll top it off with sour mash and let it ferment for 3 to 5 days.
How much bourbon will all that yield?
About 19 barrels.
19 barrels.
We're essentially making a beer. We call it distiller's beer.
You start with a beer.
That's right. If you were to classify it as a beer, it'd be classified as an ale. We'll have an alcohol content around 8% when we're finished.
How do we start bringing that 8% up?
We distill it to concentrate it.
So distilling is the next step from here?
That's correct.
All right, Drew. So this is the tower?
This is the tower.
This is where the distilling begins.
That's correct. We have 2 stills in here. One of them dates back to 1936 when the distillery first started.
Fantastic. No way.
Yeah.
Where? This here?
This one right here.
From 1936. That's incredible.
correct.
So Grandpa brought that one in.
That's
huh?
right. We still use it.
That's got to make you proud.
Absolutely. The first distillation occurs in a stripping column where we take that 9,200 gallons of beer and we concentrate it in alcohol to about 1,000 gallons.
Is that from heat, from pressure, concentration?
That's right.
So how long does that process take?
Well, this will continue all day long for about 8 to 10 hours. And the residue at the bottom of the still, we'll take that and reintroduce that into the freshly cooked mash. And that's the sour mash method.
That's like a starter?
That's correct.
What's the content at that point?
It's about 120 proof or 60% alcohol.
So now we're heading, oh my God.
Pretty impressive, isn't it?
What is that?
That's our other pot still that we have. It's a little bit prettier than the one that dates back to 1936.
Gorgeous.
And like I said, we'll use this for the second distillation. We'll switch between one of the 2 pot stills depending on which recipe we are running. The alcohol that's coming off the column still feeds directly into this.
And that's about 120 proof?
That's 120 proof. And like I said, we're just stripping the alcohol out of the beer.
Is there anything in there now?
There is.
So is it all right to drink what's in there?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily consume it. It's the residue after we've done the second distillation.
Okay, so that's part of the
But
process.
you can take a look. It doesn't smell bad.
It doesn't smell, that's what they always say.
Oh, it's got a little bit of a fruity character to it.
It does.
Yeah.
You definitely get that fruity smell.
There you are.
All right, so tell me what we have here.
This is our white dog. This is our final product before it goes into the barrel.
How long would this age before it went to market, got bottled?
It really just depends on the barrel. Every barrel has individual character. It's almost like they're snowflakes, and we taste every single one of them. So it could be, a minimum of 4 years or a maximum of 20.
So it's 130 proof, you said?
That's 130 proof, but it's not done there yet. We add a little bit of spring water to get it down to 110 proof and enter it in the barrel.
All right, here goes nothing. That is a whole new level of small town flavor in this glass. My God, is that good. It's a little strong, but it's surprisingly mellow. I mean, it is amazing how smooth that is at that proof. So what do we have here, Drew?
Well, these are our white oak barrels that we use to age in. We've got about 200 barrels in here right now.
These are beautiful. Where do you get these from?
These are from Independent Stave Cooperage, and we buy from their Kentucky Cooperage, which is about 25 minutes from us.
Was it a one-time use for a bourbon barrel, or how does that work?
We can only use the barrel one time by law.
And then what happens to the barrels?
Well, most of the other distilleries send them over to Scotland for Scotch. But we don't do that. Since we don't go through that many barrels, we send them to microbreweries here in the U.S. They're charred on the inside, and essentially what's happening is they're caramelizing the sugars.
And this is the barrel filling room here.
That's it.
Tell me about the history of this room, because by looking around, this has been here a while.
It was built in the 1930s, and it's the same building that they originally filled in, and we literally have not touched a thing in here. My grandfather, Thompson Willett, every morning he'd come out here, and this is the first building he would stop. And there was a guy that worked here named Joe, and he would always ask him how the water tasted that morning, because he knew he'd been in the tank getting in the White Dog. And has got a engraving up there. Joe is a snook.
Joe is a snook. So he would get in there and test the White Dog every day. So this would hold the White Dog?
This holds the White Dog.
And everything comes through here. You got nice steel braided cables, and then something a little bit older and craftier. This looks like all original stuff here.
Yeah, those are the original filling nozzles, and the only thing that we did was a little bit of a piping update to make life a little bit easier for us.
Okay. How long does it take to fill one?
It's about 2 minutes per barrel.
Wow, so it's coming out of there hard.
Yeah,
2
and
minutes.
it's all gravity fed, so it just depends on how much is in the
Right.
tank.
All right, off to the rick house. Hold on a second, Drew. Before we go, I noticed there's like a roller coaster out here. This looks like the Scream Machine or something. Where the barrels come out here, and there's a track I noticed. Tell me about this before we hit the rick house.
Yeah, we have this set up so that we don't have to physically bring a truck over to move the barrels to the warehouse A that's closest to the filling room, the cistern.
This is one of your rick houses right here, or what is that?
That was the first one that was built. It was built in September of 1935.
This is incredible. Look
Yeah.
at this. There is barrel after barrel after barrel. This is a rick house.
It smells great in here, doesn't
It
it?
does. But how many barrels can you hold in here at one time?
4,650. They could be years apart. Many barrels could sit in here for 20 years or more. During the summer months, when it starts to get warm outside, we'll open the windows on the bottom and the top floor to allow air to circulate. As you can feel right now, it feels pretty comfortable down here, almost like air conditioning's on. We need the product to expand, build pressure, and draw out those sugars and tannins. And in the winter months, or when it gets cold enough, the whiskey inside the barrels will start to shrink, and it'll pull a little vacuum, and it'll intermingle during the aging process.
This is the crown jewel. One barrel. First
first
one to come off.
First one to be produced since we started back up.
Wow, look at that. Look at this little baby. Thompson, look at that. Everybody signed it. It's got the little print of the still. This is liquid gold right here. Now, are you going to eventually save that for a special occasion?
Well, we're going to drink it, of course, but it's going to stay in the family.
It was a long haul to get back to that, huh?
Absolutely.
And then, like, just think about your forefathers in France distilling brandy, back just after the Civil War, doing bourbon here in Bardstown. Everything coming full circle, and there it is right here.
Yeah, they're definitely smiling down on us.
Congratulations, man. You're going to be really proud.
Thank
And
you.
we're proud of you. What a great tour.
Come back and you can enjoy some when we're ready to drink.
You'll have to twist my arm, brother.